going to be doing the presentation for Northlink College. As I said earlier, this presentation was prepared by Margaret Jones. She is the academic manager for NCV programs. Before I go on to this, I just wanted to make, because this presentation doesn't look at the issue of completing task books. So I just wanted to make a few comments about that. We've had Michelle and Teresa talk about this from their experience. But just a few things that I wanted to draw your attention to and warn you about with the task books, with the business task books. It's part of the briefing of the students and part of making sure students know those books very well. Students sometimes have problems completing some activities. Some of the activities the employer may not be that cooperative with. For instance, with the finance activities, there's confidentiality issues. Sometimes also when it's dealing with customers, we have customer services in all of our programs. There's always customer services that come up. The employers don't want to let the students deal face-to-face with employers sometimes, or be involved when there's a problem in the workplace with a customer. So what you need to do is you need to make sure that the students know how to deal with those difficult situations. We have included in our task books suggestions for the students. So for instance, we say to the student, if there is a problem getting confidential information when it comes to financial statements, then do estimates. So what you need to do is make sure that your students, in the boxes in the task book, we've made suggestions. There's like an information box that says, if you have this problem, then do it this way. So make sure that your students know what sort of problems to anticipate. And if they have that problem, they must know what to do. So that's the important thing, is that you work with the student. There's a way to solve all those problems. If an employer can't give an up-to-date financial statement, get one that's 5 years old. That's not a problem anymore. So there are just various ways. You must try and come up with solutions for those things. Right, now what I'm going to do is to go on to the issue of assessment and moderation, looking at how one college did this. We've had 2 examples from 2 colleges so far. Northlink College, they did the business programs last year with 2 of their campuses. At their Protea campus, this is a college that's in Cape Town. Their Protea campus, they did finance, economics, accounting, management, and marketing. So it's the 3 programs. And at their Paro campus, they did the office administration. So the way this worked is that with each program, they were responsible for setting up a schedule for how they would manage the completion of these books and taking them into the assessment process. So what they did, as you've heard the others saying, you need to give them time when they get back. But the time is limited. You're working against the clock now. The first week, this is what this college did. They gave them 1 week when they got back, and in some cases, the lecturers must help the students. The student will come back with some of the information. No student's going to come back with a 100% complete book. Because remember, during WBE, they're doing WBE. They can't be sitting working on their books all the time. But what you must do is make sure that they understand they must at least bring all the information they need so they can fill it in afterwards. And then you give them time to do that. And as soon as that first week of completion was done, then the marking starts immediately. The way they did it is that, as I said, by program, each program manager was responsible, and they had a 2-week marking period. And they had a rotational process. So whereby with College of Cape Town and Umfolozi, they pass it on from lecturer to lecturer. What this college did, and it's a very good idea, is that you've got your 4 subject lecturers. They're each responsible for their own subject, and then that generic section, they divide it into quarters. So each takes a quarter, and then instead of one lecturer getting all the books and finishing and then passing to the next lecturer, each lecturer takes a quarter, and they mark their subject. So as a lecturer finishes marking their section, they fill in the mark sheet in the book. There is a mark sheet, and then they will hand it on to the next person who will do it. So it moves along like that. The program manager is responsible for monitoring that. Now, with the moderation process, every college has its own way of doing the moderation. What this college did, especially with the first round, so the lecturers, they also have moderation going on in programs, but at the top level, Northlink College has an education and training unit. The academic head for the NCV programs is there, and the quality manager, so there were 3 of them. Pierre Duval's their quality manager, and then their placement officer. They did this verification on top of what was being done in the programs as well, where they sampled from the 4 programs, and then they checked those books themselves and had feedback on that. So the normal process would be for peer moderators. That's how it normally works in the Western Cape. And the Western Cape has a slightly different system. You know, each province has their own system. They have this thing in the Western Cape called Asset Online. It's an online provincial thing that all the colleges are part of. There's an instrument that they developed that they used for the moderation and for checking the students when they did it. So what they gained from doing this verification at the senior level, where they sampled a set of books from those programs for the 3, is that they could see at a college level how beneficial this was for the students. By working through those books and looking through those books, they could see that it was very beneficial, and that what was learned was also incorporated into the 3rd term of work for the students. They saw that most of the books were completed by the students, and that if a student didn't complete, and again you've heard that from the other 2 colleges, they made them complete. They had to go back. They had to complete them. They were given a second chance. And they did things like use weekends, Fridays, Saturdays. And so I know some colleges even, you know, gave the students a few days off in the week to be able to complete this. I went along to this college's meeting. They had a verification meeting where they had all their program people come along who were involved. They invited me to come along as well. So that's partly why Margaret said I should do this presentation, because I was at that meeting where they gave feedback on their verification to the program managers. And so what they're going to be doing this year is taking forward their lessons from last year, is that they have decided that the way the mentoring of the students will work, and this is not an idea that's unique to this college. Quite a few colleges are doing this, but they've decided to take their total group of students, say it's the FEA students or the office admin, and they divide those students across the lecturers. So each lecturer gets a group of students that they're responsible for, say 10 students. Those students are your students to help throughout this process. It's not just while the students are in the workplace. The mentoring of students for WBE begins before they go into the workplace. You have to make sure that those students know what's expected of them. Sometimes they're nervous, they're scared, they're not sure. You have to reassure them that it's going to be fine. So each lecturer is responsible for a group. That lecturer is then responsible for checking on those students as well when they are in the workplace. They don't necessarily have to visit all 10 students, but they're saying they must visit a few and they must be in telephonic contact and pick up problems that are happening. So that's what this verification and moderation process made them come to. They also realized when they moderated the books that sometimes an employer doesn't sign. You know, they may sign in one place and they may not sign in another place. And in some books, the employers have put the company stamp, and in other books, they haven't put the company stamp. So it's very important that your students are also briefed to make sure that they ask for the signatures. It's up to the student to get the signatures. The student must also make sure that the employer stamps their book. You know, they mustn't leave that company until they get the stamp on the book, because that's a complete book. The book is complete when it's got all those things in it. they found when they looked at the way the different programs had managed it that some of them had come up with a very nice system for doing it. So their management one had a nice system for recording results, and they have given me an example. It's a bit too small for you to see, but basically what they've got is templates for recording all the marks on here. And again, I will ask Margaret if we can put some of these templates up onto the website so other colleges can use them if needs be. But they like this system and they want to use it across the other programs as well. So they're basically going to use the same approach now. They've introduced this first to business programs, and this year they're putting it into tourism as well. So they will use a similar approach for that. For the moderation for 2014, the heads of department for each program will do the moderation, and they're looking at like a 10% sample, or at least 5 for each program that they would be doing. And it's going to happen at campus level, but then there's also going to be this college level verification process. So that then is the process. Thank you.